We're going to go into a few stories today just to give you an idea of the levels we're talking about. In no way, shape or form am I trying to glorify what I'm talking about. How I realised that prison visits are bugged up.
Miles behind that. People were booking visits to come to prison to buy drugs.
I never met Stuart to become his friend. I met him to use him in prison. So this guy was on B-wing. So someone said to me, some geezer's turned up from London calling you a grass man. The consequences are way beyond your control.
He wasn't going to go and fight our battles for us. He wasn't going to go and do this, go and do that. He had a situation with our older lot.
Today we've got a bit of an explosive sort of insight into prison life, consequences of crime, the reality of believing that you're sensible when you're living a life or a mythological life. So basically, I've got Daniel on, who's a long-standing friend from my area back in Camden, Kentish Town, and we've got Stuart, who's from Slough, who I met in prison in 2003. Now, the reason why I've got these both on today, because as you might be aware, Daniel's got his own YouTube page, Living in London, and he put us a post up the other day about the first time he met Marvin Herbert. Now, the reason why these two guys are on is because the first time Daniel met Marvin Herbert and the first time Stuart met Marvin Herbert. And basically they're connected because when I met Stuart, I was in Winchester Prison, and there was a situation that arose in Winchester Prison with an old friend of mine that was speaking very badly about me. And when I got out, I dealt with the person in a certain way, and Daniel was there when I dealt with the person. So the connection for the post today really is to make you aware that when you're in that life and you're living it, and you're breathing it, you're sleeping it, and you're just believing in the myth, believing in the dream, right? The consequences that happen during and after, or even before, during and after. So we're going to go into a few stories today just to give you an idea of the levels we're talking about. So I'm not going to tell you what these guys know. They can tell you themselves. I can just give you the mindset that I had at the time and the sort of the belief I had in myself and the person I was to the person that I've become. So in no way, shape or form am I trying to glorify what I'm talking about, because you will hear that all the acts that I committed and all the stories you hear today only kept me in prison longer, kept me away from my kids longer, never allowed me to progress as a man, and just ruined my life. So when these kids are going on like they're going to be bad men and it's easy going to prison and it's easy dealing with this and it's easy dealing with that, what we're going to give you now is the negatives of going to prison and the consequences of them actions, right? So we all like a puff, people like a sniff, people like an ear, people like a drink. So when you go to prison, you get put on a pedestal, right, based on what parcels you get, yeah, your fighting ability, your money-making ability, and your drug consumption ability, really. So for argument's sake, if you're a weed-smoking person and you get weed every day, then if you can smoke cess, because yardies don't really take Class A drugs, and nor do Africans. You get a small percentage of them that do, but the majority of them don't. So a lot of the Afro-Caribbean people in prison usually just smoke weed. Some of them get commercial weed and the governors get the cess weed. And the ones that smoke it every day are revered as powerful individuals and people not to mess about with, because they've got a reputation on the road which actually gives them the home comforts whilst they're in prison. But the consequences of them home comforts is the grooming process we go through to actually achieve, or was it when you acquire the product? So for argument's sake, I used to get drugs in prison. Prior to having screws, solicitors and works, my friends, well, my cousin and his friends used to bring drugs to the prisons, right? So they used to fire the drugs over the wall with catapults or any way necessary to get into the prison. So really the people that was bringing the drugs into the prison was people that had been groomed to risk their liberty for not a lot of money. So if I wanted a couple of bars of puff thrown over the wall, I'd give someone a couple of £100 or a couple of ounces of puff or a couple of ounces of weed, and then I'd get my products. And the Class A's and the Class B's got brought in physically because it was too much of a gamble to lose. I actually went on to get 5 years for sending, I think it was heroin, crack and cocaine into Camp Hill prison. So I used to get drugs sent into the prison, and then basically one day the link that I had, to go into the prison, couldn't do it. I've gone on a visit to try and hand the drugs to my pal, and I couldn't give him to him because he was on a closed visit. So I decided to throw them over the wall. How I realised that prison visits are bugged up is because when we was on the visit, I told him, when you come out, whistle me, and I know it's you. And then when I hear, I'll throw the gear over the wall. So then we've left the visit, I've gone outside, I've walked round the wall, and I've heard, right, so I threw the parcel over. 2 minutes later, I've seen about 30 screws come running out of jail, and they give chase up. And I got nicked, got arrested, got banged up, got bailed for the gear to get analysed, and then I got arrested later on, a few months later, for a machine gun and firearms, and then I got a sentence added on to my sentence for the drugs. So the consequences of taking drugs to prison is prison. So if you're thinking about taking drugs to your friends in prison, just know that your friends are actually getting you to risk your liberty so they can sit in their bedroom or their cell smoking weed, pretending to be Don Corleone. And that's the reality of it. So really and truly, if you're being asked to take drugs to a prison, you're not loved. Some people take drugs to prisons because they know when they go to prison, they're going to need people to bring drugs to prison. So it's part of a manipulative mindset. So you do it because you know if you go to prison, you need drugs in prison, so you need people to bring you the drugs in prison. So you take drugs to prison, so they'll bring you to drugs if you go to prison. So it's a lose-lose either way, because the consequences are that you're going to stay away from your family, you're going to be addicted to the drugs if you're a hard drug taker, if it's Class A, and you're going to go to prison if you get caught. I just want you to understand that we're not glamorising these stories in a way to go and do it, because the consequences of these actions are detrimental not only to yourself, but to your family, your children, your future, and your children's future development. We're going to talk about things that I got up to in prison and the level that I got to in the criminal fraternity, and the expectation I had of my youngsters to make sure I live comfortably in prison. So we'll start off. Daniel, introduce yourself, let the viewers know who you are.
My name is Daniel Lazar. I've created a YouTube channel recently. It's called Living in London, and it's just my experiences of living in London for the past 38 years. And the decisions I made wrong, some I made right. But it's just my experience and the people I met along the way, and the person I'm becoming and the man I'm coming today from where I was.
My name's Stuart Sharpe. I'm from Slough. Basically changing my life. I'm doing a course, ethical hacking course. It's taken me 2 years to do. I'm 3 months into it. When I get qualified, I'll technically be a pen tester or an ethical hacker in the geek world. So I'm changing, you know.
So you're on a road of transition?
I'm on a road of transition for the past 4 years, but I'm transitioning. Yeah, it's not as straightforward.
It's not as easy as I made it look.
Well,
it's hard.
Yeah, I remember
hard.
when you phoned me up, yeah, and you said, "Sharpie, I'm out of the game," and I was like, "Yeah, all right, mate, I'll say put the phone down, yeah," because we used to muck about, I've laughs and that, but I remember you said to me one day, "Come, let's go and get some phones from. Let's go and get some smartphones. It's on contract phones." I went, "What? What do you mean contract phones?" So I went and got a contract phone. That was the beginning of my transition. My phones don't ring. I've got my phone in my pocket now. It don't ring. No one ring. No drugs. None of this. None of that.
Right, now what I'm going to say to that is this, right? So, if anybody out there knows that either of these two are up to criminal activities, right? Message us. Let me know. Give me times, dates, place, and whatever. Because I can't have anybody on here that isn't talking nothing but the truth. Right now, I believe Sharpie. Yeah, but I'll be honest with you, because it's nothing but the truth. Yeah, I'm a little bit sceptical. I really am. Right, Daniel, I know he's turned his life around because he's come away from friends that I know in the area that have actually told me that he ain't in it no more. So I believe them and I believe him. I have a little skepticism about yourself because of, it's like your egotistical mindset you have. Like Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah,
You turned up today, you've got £1,900 trainers and you've got a Gucci jacket on, so it's nothing but the truth. So you've turned up here with 2-3 grand's worth of clobber on and you've got no credit on your phone. Right, so that is just showing what? Do you understand what I'm saying, Joe? So that's what makes me sceptical. Right, now I'm just dressed in my normal attire. Right, this is just normal clothes that I wear and I've always worn. Right, Daniel's the same. I never see him as being a tramp. He ain't overdressed. He's wearing normal trainers, normal shirt, normal jeans. Where you've come trying to dress to the nines. Now I understand it could be just for the camera. I don't know. But what we're going to go into. So if there is anything out there you can tell me about Sharpie, because I will drop him out. If he's lying to me, I'll drop him out. Because I can't have my platform contaminated with negative energy, being the person that I've become today and the person that I'm heading towards becoming. I can't be in Buckingham Palace getting OBE'd or knighted if I'm having it and dealing with people that are still in the game. Now, I've got friends in the game that I don't socialise with and I don't communicate with. But on special occasions such as weddings, christenings, funerals and not even birthdays, I don't see my friends on their birthdays, but if there's a wedding or there's a christening or there's a funeral, then I will go out of mutual respect. So that's that. So the information's out there, and if there's anything you can tell me or anything, you just message me. But don't message me with opinions and hearsay. If it's evidence-based facts, then I'll take it seriously, and you won't see these people on my platform again. If I don't hear nothing, I do believe Daniel will be back on, and I do believe Stuart will be back on. It's got to start from the beginning. So I first met Sharpie in 2003, chronological order, maybe a little bit off-ski, but 2003, 2004, I was in Winchester when we met. So your first sort of experience of meeting Marvin Herbert in light of the viewers?
Right, so we're in Winchester. I've been in there for about 3 months. I'm kind of settled. I've gone out and exercised. I'll never forget it. It was a nice, warm, sunny day. And there's this geezer just walking around the exercise yard, yeah, with like a towel over his head. He's just walking around the exercise yard like that. And the first thing I noticed, because obviously the sun, he had an 18k subby on there. Who's this over there? Like, so I'm about 10, 15 geezers. I'm like, who's that geezer over there? And like, everyone was like, don't know, mate. I'm like, what do you don't know? Fuck this. So as I did, went straight up to him. I goes, Marv. Oh, I didn't know. I was like, hello, mate. You all right? He's like, yeah, I'm all right. And I noticed he had a fucking spliff in his mouth like that, yeah, right? So I thought, how can I start chatting to this fella? I was, you alright, mate? He goes, yeah. I was like, do you smoke puff like that, yeah? He went, nah, mate. he went, nah, mate, I don't smoke puff. And I thought, oh, sweet. I go, listen, look, bruv, if you need anything, right, just call my name Sharpie, yeah? I'm on the wing, yeah? Sweet as a nut. And that was it. That's when I first met Marvin, yeah? Anyway, I got nicked a couple of days later.
Well, can I pause you there for a minute?
Go on.
Because a couple of days later, when Sharpie's come up to me and said, obviously, because when I used to go to prison, I wouldn't speak to anybody that I didn't know, because I'd had a couple of experiences on prior prison sentence where I actually had it with people that was arrested for sex offences and I didn't know, and I shared my products with them and then found out at a later date they was in there for nonsense, madness, right? So out of that, because of that, I refused to speak to people unless I knew them in prison. So when Sharpie come up to me, obviously when I was walking around the yard, I'm not talking to no one because I don't know no one. I'm in Winchester, I don't know no one. And then next thing, Sharpie's walked up to me where I'm like, because obviously I'm in fear of no one. I didn't care about anything. So when he's come up to me, I'm smoking a joint. He's asked me, do I smoke puff? And I was just like, no, mate, I don't smoke puff. Because I don't share nothing with anybody. I don't give no one nothing unless I know I'm in prison. And I thought the best way to get rid of people is just by just putting it on them straight away. So when he's asked me, I said, no, mate, because I don't know him. In my head, I'm thinking, who is this cunt? No, I don't smoke puff, mate. And then he just got the message, obviously, and walked off. And then I think it was the next day or the day after, we're on the yard. And there was a guy from Southampton who was, I think he was, I'm not sure if he was a
middleweight. He was a middleweight.
Like, was he a drug dealer then? I'm not sure if he was a drug dealer or what he was.
He was just going around taking people's grub and all that.
Right, yeah. So this guy, all I remember, this guy was a bit of a face from Portsmouth or Southampton. Well, I don't know about these people because they were from Portsmouth and Southampton, where Winchester is. So this guy was obviously, when I've gone on the wing, I'm watching, I'm listening, I'm observing who's who on the wing. Now, this fella, Steve, he was a bit of a face. He had another couple of people that were faces on the wing, and you can tell by the way they lived, the way they carried themselves on the wing, that they had all the bits and pieces, the clobber, the food, the snare, and you can tell people in prison who was sort of influential because everyone smoked roll-ups. So it was very unusual for people to smoke fags, but I only smoked fags in prison because it was just either fags or cigars, wasn't it? Right, so either fags or cigars, and I never smoked roll-ups. And then obviously when you get moved to prisons and you get put in a situation you have to buy snap or get snap to roll joints if you can't get certain fags, right? So the next day I've come out in the yard, I'm walking around, and there's a little bit of tension on the yard, and I'm thinking, hold up, what's going on here? And I thought, is it me? Obviously, because I've got the 18K on, I'm always dubious that people are going to try and move to you, right? So I'm walking around the yard and I can feel the tension. So I thought, you know what, it's going to kick off here in a minute. So I put my towel, where I had my towel on my head, so no one can see me, I don't need to see no one. I sort of put the towel around my neck, just ready, because what people don't realise is the towel, right, was my defence mechanism for people with weapons. So when someone tries to do you with a weapon, if you've got a towel on you, you can wrap their hands up. Like there's people that know, so you know what I'm talking about, yeah? So you can just sort of disarm people if you've got a towel, yeah? And they've got a knife, or you can deflect it if they've got weapons, right? And that's what the towel's for. You just put your hands and put the towel up, and then their arms can't come down. So when I put the towel up and I can walk around the yard, I'm expecting to get rushed for this watch, right? Because I was egotistical and I wanted to be the baddest man on the planet at that stage of my life. So as I'm walking around the yard, I felt the tension. I thought he was going to kick off, put the thing around my neck. Then I see young Sharpie get up, started walking around with a couple of his mates, and then I see him going one person to another person. I thought, oh, this cheeky little cunt. We'll see what happens. Without a bat of an eyelid, they've moved to this kid. And they've moved to this guy and they've cut him up, stabbed him up and served him up on the yard. So I thought, ooh, he's a bit of all right, this kid. In my eyes, because he was game, he was okay. Because he was game to do someone, and I think they cut him up. I'm not sure who cut the guy, but the guy got opened up. So I thought, wow, yeah, this kid's all right. I can use him for something, right? So walking around the yard, I've seen him do that. So then basically, he's gone down the block, and I ain't seen him, so I thought he's gone then. And then basically, a couple of days later, I'm in my cell.
A couple of days later, I'm down the block, and the SO's come in the cell, he's cracked the door open, he goes, right, back on the wing. I goes, what do you mean back on the wing? He goes, that's it, all done now, back on the wing. I went, what, no more bill, we're finished. He went, yeah. I went, straight? He went, yeah. I went, okay, right, so I packed my kit, come back on the wing. Sharpie, yeah. What is this? Yeah. Sharpie, that. So I'm walking to this person who's calling me. Then the cell's open. All the cells are just banged up, and there's one cell open, yeah, and it was Marv.
Can I stop you there for a minute? Right. Did you know that I told the SO that you was my cousin, and that you never had anything to do with that trial?
Right.
Do you know that?
Right. Do you know what? I ain't gonna lie to you, yeah. I was in prison for a violent offence, and at the time the IPP rule was still active. So this was my second strike, and I was actually, when I got nicked, when we done Steve, whatever, I've gone down the trachea. When I was in the trachea and I was giving it all this. Yeah, I ain't gonna lie to you, yeah. Because the IPP rule was still in, yeah. So I'm in the cell like that.
It was just coming in though, wasn't it?
It was still in, no, it was active. When 2001...
No, it wasn't. It wasn't proper activity. There was in talks, because I remember my sentence and I was thinking, are they going to give it to me?
Yeah,
it was free to come out, I think.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, right? So it wasn't actually passed. It was just coming in,
right,
because I remember thinking, I'm fucked if I get GUI. If this goes any further, there's a good chance I get IPP. Yeah, go on.
So I'm giving it all that and praying, and I'm please, then I knew something dodgy was going on. I just knew it weren't normal, because I was told the old Bill, the next person you're going to see is the old Bill. Yeah, so I thought, fuck, I'm going to get out of this. Then the next thing, they just cracked the door open. He's gone back on the wing. I went, you sure, Gary? He went, yeah. I was like, what, me on the wing? He goes, yeah. So I never knew you said anything. I never knew.
Yeah, because it was all black. It was only me, you, Tall Paul. Me, you, and Tall Paul. The only black people in the wing.
Yeah, I know.
Do you know what I mean? So when the screws, I've gone over to my SO and I've said, do me a favour, Gov. I said, you know the other fella? I said, like, he's got nothing to do with that, really. You know, he was just trying to get me a bit of puff.
Yeah.
I mean, because on my page 16, believe it or not, I was always. It was on my page that I'm best left alone with puff, because if I haven't got any puff, I'm fucking murder. So if he ain't got no puff, you got problems. Basically, that was the talk on the page 16. Because I did see a couple of my page 16s, and basically, if I never had puff, and the people that know me, and you can ask anyone that knows me, when I used to smoke puff, if I ain't got puff, then mate, like I'm just too much for myself, even for my friends and family. So that's when I'm.
So anyway, I've come out of the block, gone back on the wing, gone up into the fours, and then I heard Sharpe, like that. So I'm walking to this person's calling me. Then the next thing is Marv. Like everyone's banged up except for Marvin Cell. He goes, yeah, I'll come in here, son, come in here. So as I've walked in the cell, he goes, yeah, mate, listen, bruv, the door's open, mate, yeah? I was like, yeah? He goes, the door's open, yeah? The door's wide open, mate, yeah? Let me just tell you one thing now. If you fuck me about, yeah, I'll get you done. And I was like, yeah, sweet. Like, a normal kid's like, oh, yeah, fuck that, I'll fuck that up. Do you know what I mean? I'm like, yeah, sweet. I knew Marv was, in that short space of time, so I met him on the exercise yard 2 days before, whatever it was before, and now I'm out of Chokey, I'm on the wing, I'm in the cell with him. I just knew, you know, the aura. You know, like, he had a kettle on, yeah. Like, normally, if you've got a kettle like that on, they take it off you. When you come into prison, they take it off you, yeah.
Or they say to you, for own safety,
I had my chats, my chains, they take it off you and they put it in the safe, yeah. So I knew there was some strength of the man, you know what I mean, yeah? And he just basically said to me, look, the door's open, yeah, the door's wide open, but if you fuck me about, I'll get you done, yeah? And I was like, alright, cool. And I'm looking in the cell, and the first thing I noticed, there was bare paperwork, bruv. Bare paperwork. And I thought, hold on a minute, what the fuck's all this about, do you know what I mean, yeah? But I just knew that this guy is on things, you know what I mean, yeah? And then he goes to me, do you fancy banging up with me? Yeah, I don't mind. He goes, well, sort out the screws and that, you can bang out with me. So I've sorted it out, and then we banged up, and he said to me, he goes, can you keep a secret? I went, yeah, I'll keep a secret. Of course
I think that the secret coming when I asked you, can you keep a secret? Can you keep your mouth shut? That was when you walked into my cell, because I wouldn't have asked to bang up with you and then asked if you could keep a secret.
I think what happened was,
like, when you come into my cell, right, and we were sitting and we smoked a joint, yeah?
Smoked a joint. Well, no, you got the door open. You had I'll come to your cell and you was banged up behind the door.
See, I told you earlier we were banged up, right? Because I was smoking a joint in the cell. You come to the cell, I put the joint under the door. Yeah, and you had a couple of puffs and put it back on. I said, no, smoke it. He said, no, it's all right, the screws on the lamp. I said, no, call the screws. And I've called the screw. I said, go open my door. Then he's opened the door, and that's when you've come in. And I said to him, look, if you want to bang up me, we'll bang up together. I said, but you need to be able to keep a secret. Can you keep your mouth shut? And he was like, yeah. I said, because you're going to see things in my cell that you're not normally going to see. I said, no, I'm telling you now, if you do say anything to anyone, I'll get you served. Right? And then he's like, no, bro, it's all cool. So I said, all right, sweet. And that's when I spoke to the SI and said, can we move in, I think it was Westy's cell. Because Westy got taken down the block, didn't he? I said, can we move in that cell? And he said, yeah, sweet, not a problem. And that's when we moved in. So we moved in that afternoon. And then the next day, because I had a legal visit booked, right? So for those who don't know, I had a barrister. I think rest his soul now, because I've been told he's dead now, old George. And basically he used to bring up all the contraband to the prison. So every month I'd get a large quantity of drugs, usually ounces of white, ounces of brown, bars of puff, and handfuls of E's, maybe 10, 15, 20 E's, 50 E's at some stage. Come Christmas or birthday or New Year's, I'd get 50 E's to party, because when I was in prison, I had to live how I lived on the out. Now, I'm not saying it to say, oh, look at me, I'm the big bad guy. I'm just saying that basically when you get to a certain level in crime, that you've got to live up to that reputation. So you've got to live up to that reputation. So if I got nicked with all them drugs in prison, I would have got extra bird. But because of my ego, my attitude and my personality, I didn't care, because I had to be that guy to hold that position in that world. So when you're thinking about venturing down that road, just know that you can't back down. You can't step down. You can't move aside. Otherwise you get et and people take liberties and then you fall apart. And then that's when you've got more chance of being hurt or your family being hurt or terrorised, right? So the next day, I'm going on a legal visit. That's why I actually wanted to bang up with him, because the point I'm trying to make is I never met Stuart to become his friend. I met him to use him in prison, because I'm thinking, when I see him, I said, oh, that's kid. He's been, when he's had with the kid on the yard, I've gone to my SO that I had sweet and said, look, that mixed race kid, you know, he's my cousin. He had nothing to do with that. And he was like, really? I was like, yeah, no. He was just trying to get me a bit of puff, and he got caught up in the melee. He's got nothing to do with that. And he said, you see? I said, Drive, I'm fucking telling you, he's my cousin. Go and ask him. But I don't know if he asked him, but then next thing you know, he's on the wing, and I thought, sweet, he's let him out of the cell, let him out of the block. So then the very next day, I've gone on the visit, got my bits and pieces. I've got a phone, a bar of puff, an ounce of brown, an ounce of white, and a load of E's. And then basically these lot are on the exercise yard. Yeah. Right, but he doesn't know I've had my legal visit. So the very next day, he's gone on the yard with me, but you coming out the yard? I said, no, I'm not. So obviously we don't talk about what we do. So he's gone on the yard, I've gone on my legal visit. So by the time I've come back, they're still on the yard. Come back off the yard, I've said to him, remember I said to you if we can keep a secret? He said, yeah. So boom, now, I don't know how you're going to take it, but it's the truth and nothing but the truth. So basically, because I can't hold all the parcel, I need other people to hold my parcel. So the brown and the white is what I held, and then Sharpie was in control of looking after all the puff because it was bulky, and I didn't like bottling all the puff because I had a phone. So I had to bottle my phone, bank it, that's up your bum. So know this, when you're getting these parcels and you're being this guy in prison, just know that you have to basically stick parcels as well as a phone, and it's all got to be up your bum, and it's got to be wrapped up, and you've got to get it in and out all day. So because of that, I didn't want to get the puff in and out all day, so I used to take little bits out of the brown, little bits out of the white, maybe an eighth a day for shotting purposes, and I'll keep that behind my bell end, behind my foreskin. And then the bulky bits was the puff. So I always needed people around me, the grooming process, the grooming mindset still, right? So Sharpie might have felt we were becoming friends, but we wasn't. I was just grooming him to carry my puff, hold my puff, right? So basically he's banged up with me. He's come back off the yard, and I said, you can keep secrets, yeah? He said, yeah. So that's when I've said to you, open the cupboard, because that's what you've got to hold. That's for you. This is for me, blah, 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 blah. Do you understand? Because this is the point I'm trying to make to people, right? That we weren't becoming friends in prison. Yeah. I was just using you with everyone else on the wing. Do you understand? So that was the purpose of that. Yeah. And then we went on to do other things. Obviously, in time, we did become friends. We actually did become friends because I liked Sharpie. I wasn't a very jovial person growing up as a kid, but Sharpie used to do some crazy stuff that was comical. Yeah, and it was comical, right? Some of it, like, you think, rah, that's nasty, but it's nothing but the truth, right? So I'm going to tell you this one thing that used to make me laugh, right? Like, you get people walking around me like they're bad men, yeah? But because Sharpie's, now I believe that I've given him a little bit of a little ego boost, right? Because I felt after you started having me, you did throw your weight about a little bit more than you did when I got there. Yeah. Right? So I got to the chow. One day we're standing, watch this, right? We're standing in the dinner queue, right? Right, I have to stand up to dinner, so we're standing in the dinner queue. Sharpie's gone up to the skis, he's gone, here, bruv, here, grab that, right? And then as he's gone like that, the geezer's put his hand out like that, yeah? And he's just put his ball bag in the geezer's. Well, this geezer's supposed to be a bad man from Northampton, yeah? And then he's gone, oh, you fucking day, cunt, I'm telling you, it's disgusting, but because I just thought it was extremely funny, right? And just there's loads of little things like that. I won't go into every sort of story because some of them are just disgusting, man. I don't really want to venture down that road, but he made me laugh a lot. So he made me laugh a lot in my deepest, darkest moments in prison, and that's what started forming the relationship that has kept us for 17 years. 17 years now. Think about it, right?
A bit longer.
Well, no, 2003, 2020, that's 17 years. It's not a bit longer, right? So for the 17 years of the relationship we've had, right, I've always tried to encourage Sharpie to be the man he's becoming today. I met his mum, I met his family, and I've always had this conversation. I've always wanted to be out of crime, but the reason why I became friendly with Sharpie was because he made me laugh in prison. I had a soft spot for him, and then basically our relationships developed over the years. But the one thing he had, I was saying, like, I don't know, it must have had water, I don't know, it was swollen, it was just big, it was just looked like a massive Malteser, right? But it was like one of the funniest things I've ever seen in prison. So that was like the icebreaker for the beginning of our relationship. So now we're going through prison and we're having laughs, we're having jokes, we're getting all the drugs, we're doing all the bits and pieces. And then basically it got to the stage where I became a pretty big figure within the prison community in Winchester. Now, some of the stories that people talk about, they talk about. Some of them I weren't aware of, but Sharpie made me aware of something earlier that people used to do on their visits down to the amount of drugs that was coming into the prison. So
basically, the jail got locked down. We called it Black Wednesday.
Okay.
You remember that?
I don't.
Basically, Marvin said to me, he goes, "You do know I'm going to flood this jail, I'm going to have it on lock." Like, I went, yeah, no problem. A couple of months later, the actual jail locked down for 3 days, yeah. They stopped everything. They were feeding us from our doors.
Oh, I do remember that. Remember that,
because of the drug. The prison knew there was a problem. They knew. And it got so deep that in that area, so you got Winchester, you've got Southampton and Portsmouth. So a lot of people that go to Winchester are either from Southampton or Portsmouth, yeah? Red Army, Blue Army, yeah? And then people were actually booking visits because in the actual area, there was a drought. You know, you get droughts, yeah? So there was an actual drought in this area. And then people were booking visits to come to prison to buy drugs. That's when we knew this was serious shit. Yeah. Then the jail went into lockdown, into actual pure lockdown.
And how it used to happen, we used to have accounts set up, right? So people had to put the money in an account, and then I'll get the confirmation that the money was in the account.
A bank account, yeah.
Bank account or post box, PO number. So once my people picked up the readies, then the people could book their visit and come in and grab their graft. It's fucking nuts, man.
Crazy.
Nuts. But the irony of that is, that's a criminal enterprise that you can go to prison for. Like, I wasn't in control of it. The people that I used to give or just sort of trade my drugs or my bits with, that's what they were doing. So I used to have food in prisons, I used to have phones in prison, I used to have everything I wanted in prison, I used to have to pay for it. So I paid for everything with drugs. But the drugs I used to pay for everything with, people went on to sell their drugs on visits and wherever. Do you know what I mean? And it's just a madness, right?
Yeah.
So basically, going through the prison system, just really, it was just
the amount of drugs that was available at the time. Because I remember Marvin said to me, he goes, "Build a spliff, son, build a spliff." I'm like, "Oh, sweet." So in my head, I'm thinking, it's e-commonised, we're in jail, you know what I mean? Yeah?
One pot.
Right, yeah, little jail-out spliff, yeah. So I'm like, yeah, mate. He's like, "What the fuck's that, Bush?" "Oh, it's a spliff, mate." He's, nah, come, let me show you. I'm like, "What?" So he's lighting the fucking puff. He's like, I'm like, "What are you doing, Bush? You can't do that." He's, nah, you gotta do it properly. So then, I've obviously started smoking more than what I normally smoke. And I'd have ounces of puff, and I'd be smoking it, and then I think a couple of days later I come up to you and I said, I need some more puff. He goes, "What do you mean?" I said, "I ain't got no more puff left, mate." He goes, "What have you done with it?" I said, "I smoked it." He went, "What do you mean you smoked it?" I said, "Well, what am I supposed to do with it?" "I smoked it, mate." He went, nah, you couldn't have. "I have."
Pretending to be Marv, mate, do you know what I mean? Pretending to be Marv, like he's paying for it all. That's another thing as well, it's just the mythological belief that everybody has in themselves in prison, right? Like, you start mimicking other people, you start doing other things, but reality is you're just creating problems for yourself.
It's not normal.
You know, it's just not normal. So basically we had fights in the prison, we had problems with the screws well, I never had problems with the screws in the prison. The screws was pretty alright with me because I sort of kept a calm in the wing, didn't I? Because everyone's off their nut. And if you fucked up on my wing, then I didn't like it. In there, they used to let you out late for association if there was problems, weren't there? So if there was problems and people used to let you out late, I like it as a routine. So rather than have inconsistency with our routine, I used to give people drugs to keep them quiet.
And they're sweet with that. They're happy with that.
The ones that are causing problems, say, come here, son, what's your problem? And this fucking cunt. I said, what gear do you take? Do you take a bit of gear? They go, yeah. I say, here's a couple of bags. And then they go and have a boot, and then they think I'm the bollocks.
Yeah,
I mean,
they're sweet, and they want to be there.
So it's just about keeping the calm on the wings. And it was just, again, it's just that mindset of grooming to get what you want out of people and out of the process or the predicament that you're in, right? So, obviously, I'm in prison. I'm living my life. I'm growing. What I thought was to be sensible. I'm making the right links. I've got 4 or 5 people on the wing bringing all sorts of drugs in, as well as getting my drugs off my my solicitor. So everything was running smoothly. Everything was running well. Everything was nice. And then someone said I was a grass. Right. So this is the main reason why we've got this meeting. Broadcast today to talk about some prison stories. We'll go into some funny stories as well about other situations we've been in the prisons. But the main reason for this podcast today was that the guy's called me a grass. He's come to the jail. He's on another wing. He's calling me a grass, but he doesn't know how I've got the jail. So when he's talking about me, I think we was on A wing, innit?
Yeah.
Was it A wing?
Yeah.
Because A wing, B wing, and C wing.
Yeah.
So we was on A wing. So this guy was on B wing. So someone said to me, some geezers turned up from London calling you a grass man. I was like, what are you talking about? He said, yeah, some geezer called Kevin. I said, nah, never in a million years, mate. Never in a million years. What does he look like? So they've described him. I said, yeah. No, that sounds like Kevin, mate. I said, are you joking? He went, no. I said, all right, sweet. So I've gone to the screw. I said, Gov, listen, one of my pals, one of my codees have turned up. He's on the other wing. I said, I need to have a legal visit with him. Is there any chance I can go down to the legal rooms and have a conversation? He said, yeah, of course you can. So he took me down to the legal rooms because Winchester's set up like a miniature Wandsworth. So just imagine, if you've been in Wandsworth, you can imagine, you've got the centre and then all the wings come off of the centre. Yeah. So we're on A wing, he was on B wing, and then he had C wing, and then here you had the legal visits. So I've come out, I've gone into legal visits. And I've gone and I said, can you go and get Kevin, right? I won't say his second name because I'm not here to put mud on people. It's just a situation that we've been through and it's something we've overcome, and it's just something that will make people understand the severity of this world that we're leading, the world that we led, and the choices that you're going to make and where they're going to wind you up, and the conversation, the words that come out your mouth, the detrimental effects that they will have for your future. So I wouldn't wish any of this on my worst enemy, and I really wouldn't. And I've never purposefully gone out of my way to get done what happened to anybody. Everything happened was just part of karma. I never actually, like what happened with Kevin, I never had anything to do with what happened to Kevin. I mean, that was just karma for things he'd done in his old life, and it caught up with him.
And right? The choices he made in his life.
The choices he made.
Yeah, that's great.
The biggest mistake that he had was falling out with me, because he was kind of under my umbrella, and the minute he come from under my umbrella is when he got attacked. So basically, when he called me a grass, and I said to him, I'll sort the visit out, we've gone on a legal visit, he's walked in, I said, what the fuck are you calling me a grass for? I never called you a grass. I said, you did, mate. I said, people on the wing saying you're a grass. I said, no, I said that someone called you a grass and I never backed you up. So they might have assumed that you was a grass. I said, okay, fair enough, that's not a problem. I'll eat that, that's not an issue. I said, but when I get out, Kev, if I hear that you've actually called me a grass, then I'm not going to do nothing to you, but you will have to take a public embarrassment, and I will publicly embarrass you in front of everyone. You know that, don't you? So he's like, yeah, mate, we're family. And we were family to this point. We was family. I looked after Kevin. He's my youngster from the plot. I've done everything I could to get him switched on and plugged in and make money. And I've never done anything to sort of harm him, his people, his family, or any of his friends. I've done everything I could to protect them all and help them all grow. And every single one of his friends from that area will tell you the same thing. I've done nothing to none of them. I've never laid a hand on any of them. I've never put a tool on any of them. Like, the ones that I had murders with prior to me going to prison was the young kids from the area that we've had a bit of conflict with. One of them's put a post up saying that he respects what I'm doing now, and we'll go down that road when he's prepared to come on and speak properly. But people that know. I had issues in Queen's Crescent when I was a kid growing up with the local people, the local families, but nothing to the point where life has taken us, right? So the public embarrassment. So now we're getting out, I get that. I've heard people say, Marv, why? I was like, what are you on about? I said, well, Kevin said this, Kevin said that, Kevin. I was like, wow, that's a fucking liberty. So then the public embarrassment has to happen. So what I've done, I've called on a couple of the youngsters. I won't mention no one's name because everybody that knows what happened here, right? And you was there because you was there on the day because we used your mum's house. So basically what happened was, I got one of the youngsters said, right, do you know who works for Kevin? They said, yeah. I said, do me a favour. I want you to get everybody that owes Kevin money, and just let them know that we're going to squash their debt. We can get all their debt squashed, right? So get them all to meet us. Where can we meet? So then your mum's house got put up, right? So we met up on Ferdinand Street. We've gone down the gaff. I didn't know you at the time then, right? So basically, he said, well, meet us on Ferdinand Street. So I've turned up Ferdinand Street and there's maybe 10, 15 youngsters. I can't remember the exact amount of youngsters that was in your mum's that day, right? But it was like all the main shotters around the area, right? So basically, we worked out it was couple of hundred grand. Between 100 and a couple of hundred grand that was owed to Kevin. Not in raw cash, but people had products. So he had a key, he had half a key, he had a 9-bar, he had 2 9s, he had money, and everybody owed Kevin, and everybody had things for Kevin. So what I've said to everybody is this, right? Give me your phones, right? Give me your phones. So I've got all the phones, and I've put them all on your mum's mantelpiece, right? And then I've rung Kevin. So I've said, hello, mate. I said, how are we doing, Kev? I said, remember the public embarrassment I told you was going to have to eat when I got out? I said, it's happening today. I said, you've got no more work and you've got no more money, right? And I'd advise you really just to eat it and walk away. I said, because it ain't coming back. And if you trouble any of the youngsters, then you're going to have a problem with me because I'm going to have to protect them because I'm giving them my word that nothing's going to happen to them after today. So please do yourself a favour, Kev. Eat your little bit of humble pie and bounce. I said, otherwise it'll go pear-shaped, right? What are you on about? I said, well, all your work and all your graft and all your grafters has gone. I've got every gram that you had on the road and I've got every penny that was owed to you in my hand right now. And you are not getting nothing back, okay? Don't fuck about, Marv. Will you play? I said, mate, that's how it is. I'll speak to you later. I've put the phone down. With that, he starts ringing up all the phones individually. So I'm picking the phones up. Hello? I've told you, Kev. Hello? No, I've told you, Kev. Kev, it's me. Kev, it's me. Kev, it's me. Anyway, so then what he's done, the people that give him the work, he's rung them up and told them what had happened. So then basically, when you said I was talking to them big people, they've on the phone, Marv, what are you playing at? I said, no disrespect. And I'm not saying this to be the big guy because I'm not in that world no more. I'm not trying to pretend I was anything else, but this is nothing but the truth and this is what happened. So I said, look, no disrespect. I did tell you before I come home that if you're doing anything with Kev, he's going to get out. I'm taking everything off him. He's not going to be worth a penny, mate. I'm not going to shoot, I'm not going to stand, but I'm going to take all his work because this was a plan that I had orchestrated whilst I was in prison. I'd been speaking to my youngsters about what I'm going to do, and they said they were going to line up all the people they think will jump on board. I'm not going to name names, but it happened. So by the time I come out, it was ready. It was ripe, ready for the plucking. So they rung me up, Marv, what are you planning? I said, I've told you what's going to happen, mate. I said, why did you give him any work? I said, I'm not paying nothing. You're going to have to eat it. So they said, all right, sweet, fair enough, not a problem. We'll eat it. But how about moving forward? I said, well, he's got to move off the manor. I said, because I'm going to put all these back to work. He can't work around here now because he's going to cause a problem. So anyway, cutting a very long story short, Kevin went on and then some atrocious things happened to him, and I'm sad for his family, I'm sad for his kids, and I'm sad for what happened to him, but apparently he's doing well at the moment, he's getting better, and hopefully he's made sense of what he went through, he's made sense of what he had to learn from that, and he's grown into a better person. I haven't spoken to him since that day, and I don't know where he is or what he's up to, but I wish him well and I wish his family all the best. I don't mean any malice by what I'm doing. All I'm trying to show everybody is the devastation that this world causes, even when you're friends, from babies, from young men, the devastation that it will cause when things go pear-shaped. Because me and Kevin detached from each other, okay? People saw him as a target. So everything he'd done prior to having it with me came back to bite him. Tenfold. So without even going too far into it, he got chopped up, stabbed, shot, beaten and shot again. And then he's just fell into the place where he's at now. And I'm not saying it with any malice, but what I'm saying is this, right? This was a very loved character who took some liberties with people, and it come back to bite him in the arse at a later day of his life. So when you're going through this journey, making your choices, when you're having this life thinking you're bad, when you think that you're getting away with shit, just know that what you put out there will come back to get you. Now and I can swear down nothing but the truth. I had nothing to do with any badness that happened to Kevin. Although I was blamed for a lot of it, Kevin knows that I had nothing to do with it. Because Kevin knows who done what they done to him and why they done it. And it had nothing to do with me. In fact, right, because it's nothing but the truth, I've got to put it out there. I got offered money to deal with Kevin, and I told him, what the fuck? Right, and Kevin, you know, if you're out there watching, listening, I rung Kevin and told him, bruv, listen, this one, that one, and this one, they offered me scratch, bruv, be careful, yeah? And he's like, what? I said, I'm telling you, right? So I marked his card, even though he was an adversary. What is that? What's the word?
Adversary, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's an adversary.
He wasn't my link anymore. He wasn't my friend. He wasn't my family. You know, like, he made a choice to do something, and then it ended up very badly for him. So the point of the podcast today is to let you know that if you're choosing that road or you're choosing that life, yeah, that the consequences are way beyond your control. Way beyond your control, because there is someone bigger, there is someone badder, and there is someone more fearless. I'm living proof. I never thought someone would want to kill me or have the ability to kill me. I got shot 5 times, and only by the grace of the universe, superpower in Yahuwah, am I here today.
So I remember going to Spain, come to see you in hospital. So you got to remember before
the transition.
Before the transition, but you got to remember, I knew Marvin as Marvin, yeah, right. So I've got on a plane, got off at Malaga, Costa del Sol hospital, and I walked in the room, and I was like, wow. I was like, hold on a sec, because this is someone who, one, I looked up to, 2, I knew was a strong character, yeah, physically and mentally strong. And I'm looking at my pal, and he's in the bed, and he's like, in a bad way, mate. And his eye, at the time, your eye was
gone. It was all patched up, wasn't it?
It was still there.
It wasn't. I've never been there.
It wasn't like we didn't have the glass eye.
No, I never had the glass eye. I just had the stitches.
Yeah. Right, and I was like,
and that picture has just gone up now. What he's talking about?
Yeah. So I'm like, Marvin, what happened? I need done this. He's like, don't worry about it. Don't worry, sweet. I'm like, what? And I was like, wow. I was sitting in this hospital with him, you know, for a good while, man. And it was pretty serious, man. It's like I've never seen the guy act, you know, carry on the way he's carrying on. But obviously, he got taken into account. He's been shot. You know, he's gone through a pretty traumatic situation here, and I'm like, wow. And I'm there for these days, and I was thinking, this is. Just...
What was my mindset like?
You was like, how can I put it? You was. When I spoke to you on the phone, yeah. Because it was my mum that rang me, yeah? You spoke to my mum first, didn't you?
Right.
And he goes, yeah. And then one of my pals rang me. He said, oh, look, everyone's been nicked out. I was like, what's going on there? And I've spoken to you, and he's like, yeah. And you sounded normal. When I spoke to you on the phone, you sounded absolutely normal. He's like, mate, till like, chuck it out, in and like, boom. I was like, all right, this is a wind-up. But I know it's not a wind-up, because my mum wouldn't, yeah? So I booked the flight and that, and I've gone to Spain. And when I got into that hospital, I remember the guard outside, the old bill outside with the guns and all that, yeah? And I was like, this is serious shit, man. This is serious.
So that was the first 3 days then? That was the first 3 days. After 3 days, they fucked off, the police.
I was just like, wow. But he was going for some serious, major pain. I see your leg. When I saw your leg, man, I was like, what the fuck? It's all caged up and wired up.
I know, but I'll just elaborate, yeah? Any time I moved, fuck.
Yeah, it was serious shit. It was serious shit.
Sharpe, you do me a favour? Roll a joint.
Yeah.
Roll a joint.
Yeah, I was smoking puff in the hospital. I forgot about that. Yeah, we were smoking pollen.
Yeah.
Top 10 out of 10. But yeah, we were smoking puff in the
crazy,
mate.
mate.
I heard he was dead. That's what the word in Camden was. Mars behind that. Mars behind that. Mars behind that. And obviously no one's going to see him, we don't know at the time, but we know now. But so Marv's dead, yeah, I'm like, fucking hell, and you start thinking, who's done it? Fucking hell, boom, boom, boom. Anyway, I'm in Camden, this is about, I can't remember how long later, I'm in Camden and buy a CD store when they used to sell CDs next to KFC. And I'm just chatting to the guy.
Jason.
Yeah, Jason, there you go.
Jason Eddie's talking about, a long-standing friend of mine forever.
So anyway, I'm there talking to him and that, yeah? And then he looks up, Jason looks up, and then obviously I'm looking and I see some geezer limping. I'm looking, I'm like, that's Marv. Like, and there's a couple of people around him and that. I'm like, Marv, what's that? He's like, what's that? He made blood above the geezer. I'm not talking about his injuries, not talking about coming back from the dead. He's like, what's that? He got his friend's number. What's that? Where's my man? I've seen him still. I'm looking like, what the fuck? This geezer's like, he's different now, but he's the same up here. Ain't nothing changed up here. He's still very, very much switched on. And then I'm like stuttering, like, oh no, I ain't seen this.
Yeah, I was on crutches then, innit?
Yeah.
I was on crutches.
And then people just, like, so he's walked off now, we've had little boys, he's walked off and that, yeah? And then people just come up to him. I'm just like, this geezer, as he's walking off, I'm just thinking, mate, mental. The geezer's on the, like, he's not with, like...
That was a year later though, you know?
Yeah.
So I had the bone transplant. But cover the mindset that I had when you come, because when you come, yeah, I do remember, I was still serving up in the hospital. Do you remember that?
Well, I remember coming in the hospital.
Do you remember?
There was a box. There was a night box on the floor.
When I've been shot, you know, I'm in the hospital. I'm owed money from this one, that one, this one. I'm having it. But because of the person I was and the way I was speaking to people, everything just went on as normal. Everything just went on as normal. And then he's come over looking like, I said, what are you looking like that for? He's like, Marv. I said, shut up, you mug. What's the matter with you? Fucking crying. What are you crying for? Because he come over with all tears coming out of his eyes. I'm like, what the fuck's the matter with you? Do you know what I mean? Like, people come in and they was bawling. I'm like, what is the matter with you? We're all right. I'm sweet. I can wiggle my toes.
You're doing your thing, innit? You're just doing movements.
I can't handle depression. I can't handle people being sad around me. Like, I don't need to talk about it like it was a sad moment, because it wasn't a sad moment. I was still back. I was still doing what I was doing. I was still grafting, right? And it weren't until I see them fucking x-rays that I realised it was a miracle. But up until that point, I thought, you know what, I just got to get back on my feet. And you come over. And when you come over, it surprised me that you come over. Out of all the friends of mine that I've known all my life, you were the last person I would have expected to come over.
You're joking. Straight.
I mean, why would you come over? Do you know what I mean?
Sometimes you do stuff for so, like, you put yourself...
But I didn't realise what I'd done for him.
Yeah, okay.
Do you understand what I'm saying? Because I don't go here, well, I wrote that down, I know what I've done for him. Do you know what I mean? You just do it because you do it, innit? You do it because you do it. That's it, simple. You just do it because you do it. At the end of the day, yeah, what he done for me in prison, yeah, what I give him was because I couldn't be who I was in prison if it wasn't for him. He never see that. Because he see what I was giving him.
Yeah.
But he didn't realise I couldn't be that guy if I never had his network, if I never had his legs, if I never had his running about, if I never had his people. If I never had that, I couldn't be who I was. Do you understand? So I appreciate what people do for me. So I show people appreciation by giving them stuff. Do you understand? Yeah. But because I'm giving him stuff, he thinks I'm doing him the favour. He doesn't realise what favours he's been doing me. Do you understand? Even when I got shot, right, I'm in the hospital. I've got bits and pieces around me. I'm still doing bits and pieces, but I've been given a couple of, just under half a ton of puff by someone to do some bits and pieces, but I can't do it. I can't sell it. Yeah. I'm in the hospital.
You're stuck, mate.
Do you know what I mean? So I think, who can I get to that? I mean, I've seen him walking up, what was that? Sharpie, do me a favour, bruv. Go with me nephew, go with me cousin, go with Joe, do this, do that.
And even then, your first priority is still getting back to being you.
Yeah.
It's getting back to
was
being
all
you.
he was.
He was buying people presents that are coming up to visit him. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? Yeah. Like, he had a trainer box in the flipping hospital room. Yeah. I never clocked on at first, and then when I clocked on, it was fill up with readies, mate. Yeah. And I was going down to the shop in the hospital, and I was buying cards, yeah, and flowers or chocolates, whatever it may be. And then he was getting all sorted out. So when people were coming in to visit him, even here, I'll take that. That's Marvin, isn't it? Do you know what I mean?
Go on.
Yeah, and you know the mad thing about it is over there, yeah, you get €500 notes.
Yeah.
So a box that big with €500, it's 500, 200 and €100 notes, yeah? So it was like, I'll give them a oneer, give them a two, give them a monkey. Yeah, do you know what I mean? It's like, it's crazy, bro. Like, the life that we led, yeah, we led it. And it was good, it was fun when we was in it. But you got to ask yourself, For what? You got to ask yourself, yeah, at the end of the day, what was it all for? Do you understand? What was it all for?
If we could, when my dad was alive, he used to say to me, you must study, yeah, study and all this. And I was thinking in my head, study, you're all right, mate. Yeah, of course I'm going to study, yeah. The amount of time I spent in the West End, yeah, if I would have spent 2 years studying then, so we're talking 30 odd years ago, if I would have spent 2 years studying then, I could have been qualified in whatever I'm doing, yeah. This is what you got, all the energy, a lot of these youths, yeah, doesn't matter what background or nationality you come from, the energy, if you're a roadman, yeah, or a gangster, a villain, you've got to have balls, right? You're not an average person, yeah, right? Otherwise you'd be a 9-to-5er, yeah? But what you don't realise is, it's easier to be a gangster and it's harder to be a, like to go and do a course.
It's harder to be a man.
Right, yeah? So you think, yeah, I'm a villain, look at me, I'm wearing a club, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, I'm going this place, there's all these birds and all that. Mate, it ain't gonna last, bruv.
And it's not hard. It's not hard to take rather than to earn.
If you can go out there and you can go and do the mad thing, the amount of things that I've done in my life, if I actually think, oh, fuck me, you've got to be an absolute fruitcake to do those things. You've got to have balls. Why can't I sit down, A4 paper, highlighter, pen, little laptop, press pause, bang.
You're doing it now, though, aren't you?
I'm doing it now, right? I'm doing it now.
The reason why I'm here is for what I'm doing today and where I'm going today, right? So why I'm here is to let you know that life, it ain't worth it, right? Because you're risking your liberty every single day of your life for a price you can't put your finger on. You're prepared to shoot, stab and kill and go to prison forever. For what? For what, right? To get to the end of the road, like myself, like Stuart, and like Daniel, to turn around and say, it ain't fucking worth it. And every villain at the top, yeah, that has gone and got a job. I know the baddest man from East London, yeah? The baddest man from East London I ever met in jail, yeah? And I'll tell you now, yeah? I'm going to bring him on the podcast. Kenny Ken, my brother, yeah? He's a fucking bus driver now. Is he a weak member? No. Is he a coward? No. Is he still the same man on you 10, 15 years ago? Yeah. But you know what? He's got kids and now he's driving a bus. And he will be on to show and tell you with the story because it's nothing but the truth. My other pals, there was deepest, darkest in it from Burnham, right? Kenneth Henry, he was a bad man. Yeah, people might know him as Mango, right? What's he doing now? Yeah, he's got his own food company. So he cooks food, they got cooked food gaff. So we done a concert, Fire in the Park in Sheffield. I've turned up there, I'm walking around, yo, Marv. I was like, yeah, what's happening? What do you mean what's happening? I was like, what do you mean? He's like, is that Mango? He's like, yeah. I was like, fuck, I've been trying to get hold of you. He said, bruh. We linked again. Now he's on positive things again. Every person that I remember back in the day that we were supposed to link with from prison, Kenny Ken's one, Mango's another one, right? And Bubbler, right? Now these are people that I really thought would never ever change their life around like me. And now they're all working, contributing members of society, helping the youngsters develop better skills to become better men. Right? Why are we doing that? If it's such a successful world, if it's such a successful avenue to go down, yeah? So we're going to go into a few more little stories now, just to give you a little bit of insight into that world, right? So we'll move on to Daniel, right? So you yourself, you was in that world, you was grafting, when you was moving food and running about like a lunatic, you was risking your liberty every single day of your life for a price you can't put your finger on. Now, give us some of your stories, give us something that you went through, give us something you can talk about, son.
Yeah, so basically now, I'm going to give you the backdrop of how I met Marv. I've said it on my channel, but I'm going to give it to Marv's viewers, yeah? So I've come out of jail. I got a Cody at the time, but I could never bank. I'm not sticking nothing up my bum. I can't do it. I just physically couldn't do it. Yeah? I don't know if I've got a flat ass or what, but I ain't going up there, yeah? So my phone would be around, yeah? So I'd always get caught for either weed or phones. That was my thing, weed or phones, yeah? Just to make contact with people and just escapism. That's why drugs, that Marv said, is so prevalent in jail, because you're escaping your reality. You're escaping what you've done to yourself. You're escaping the feelings, you know? Like
The reality. You're escaping your reality, and when you all go back and we all call up, and unless you've got like serious weddings and connections,
For me, the first person I called when I was in prison was my mum. My mum in jail, could you send me 20 quid? It was the first person I ever called. When I'm outside, mum was the last person I ever called. You know, it was like, oh, whatever, mum ain't got time, whatever, mum ain't got time. But now I'm jammed up, mummy. But anyway, so I've come out of this sentence now, yeah? And some stuff's happening on the road. My Cody is cleaning up, he's doing bits and pieces, obviously, he's Kev's boy, or Kev's fucking worker and that. So we're all Kev's workers at the time, yeah? But I've just come out back into the swing of things. So we're doing bits and pieces, and my Cody's been wrapped, yeah? Wrapped up means kidnapped, yeah? Kidnapped and set up by his own family, because he's doing well, and because, I don't know the ins and outs of why it happened, but just because jealousy, and when you're making money, there's no tax and you're not working, you're doing well, you're showing off, you're driving fancy cars and that, you think you're doing well. You don't know who's watching you, you don't know what people's plans have got for you, you don't, sometimes you can have a problem with someone, they don't like you, they can't do nothing to you because you're serious. You know what they're going to do? They're going to call the police on you, mate. They're going to get you nicked, they're going to be like, yeah. And they still be your pals, they still want to know what's going on, and you being the man, you want to let people know what you're doing. You want to let people know I'm doing this, bruv, I'm doing that. They're like, yeah, sweet, mate, you're going away. So anyway, so you get a load of stuff like that in the streets as well, the sneaky stuff, the ratty stuff, the snaky stuff that you can't see. Yeah, you can have your third eye sometimes, it tells you, but when someone's lining you up, you just don't see it. Anyway, my pal's been took, yeah, by some people that we all know, and we was all one at one stage, yeah, we was all a group, yeah. There was the older, well, there was Marv's lot, then there was Kev's lot, then there was us, yeah. And then Kev would always send us to do bits and pieces. If someone owed Kev's money and they run off, he's sending us. When them boys are slipping, you slide. And there were certain times where I wasn't really happy with that, you know. I'm not happy with just doing it, but I'm trying to get acceptance. I'm trying to show the boys, listen, I'm like you, yeah, I'm like you, because I respect the violence and stuff. Well, I did respect the violence because I thought that showed strength, masculinity. These other guys, they're weak, they're going to job, they can't keep up, you know. So that was my thought process. So my Cody's been wrapped up, and I've just come out of jail, but I'm in it. My Cody took a case for me actually because I'll tell you another time, but I messed something up. So my Cody didn't have to help me, he did. So we both got sentenced, and then, like I say, he got out first, I got out second. So once he's been kidnapped, they've taken a lot off him, and now they're trying to get him to go to like certain people's spots, like his mates now. So he's been got, but now they want to get him to his mates because they know we're all doing bits and we've all got bits around us. So he's got taken to another house, and then when they've got him out the car, he's run off. He's run off and blah, blah, blah. And he's escaped. So now he's come back round to us. Well, he's called us actually and said he was barefooted. They took his shoes and all that shit, yeah? So you can't run off, but if you run anyway, when you're scared, you just do things to get away from situations. Only when you're fear of your life will you do whatever it takes to get away. Sometimes you might even leave your pal, your boy that you know, and you're smart. Listen, but me and you forever, man. Ride or die, G. Ride or die. As soon as something happens, people pull things out, or you think you're gonna go. Sometimes you just go. Anyway, my pal's away, and he's called us. So we've got the phone call now. So we know it's serious. And we know the people that have done it are even more serious. And it's not like we can't do anything to them, but there's serious repercussions behind it. It's not just like you go and beat someone up or you go and do the... No. It doesn't work like that, yeah? So I'm like, what the fuck are we going to do? Marv's like, don't worry, we're going to sort it out. Now, I've known Marv's family because the younger lot are like my age sort of thing. So I've been primary school, secondary school with some of his family, and after that I was on the streets with a lot of them. We've done some bits and pieces.
Was that with Wars?
With Wars and Little P. I'm in the gym with him. I see him in the gym before all this lockdown crap. And so I've always known about Marv, but you never really just hear about this geezer done that, yeah, he done this, but you never see him, you know, they're up there, and they're doing other bits. But, so he must have come out of jail now, yeah, and he's about now. My Cody, his family's plugged in, like, they're everywhere, north, east, south, west, you know, so he knows all, like, the older lot, and he knows the stories about him and that. And he's like, look, we're going to do Marv's out now, yeah? Marv's coming, he's like, right, boys, right, who's money, who's in this? I didn't say nothing at first, but this is how fickle everything is. Kev's the man, we're all scared of him. We give him money, we do what he says. He's the man, what he says goes. And even to the other people around the ends, whatever Kev says, it goes. People would buy Kev's shit work because you just want to be associated with him. Get my glove off, Kev, bruv. You could get it cheaper from someone and better quality, but you just want to be linked to Kev. Anyway, so he's come in there, yeah? I know what I owe him, I know what certain people owe him, yeah? Because we're all clicked up. He's like, well, who owes in this, who owes in that? I'm thinking, I'm not doing anything, I'm just going to sit. But my cody's like, boom, this, that, the other. So everyone's putting readies down now. Well, I'm not stupid, I'm going to do the same thing, I'm following suit. So I put my bit in, yeah? I'm thinking, all right, sweet, this is how it's going to go down, this is how it's going to go down. And then, obviously, phone calls are made and that, yeah? And then when I see him just picking up phones and that, yeah? I don't know this geezer. I've never seen him. It's just like someone just comes into your movie and then just starts smashing everything that you think, pulling everything down that you think, no, this is it, this is it. He just come in and he just tore it all down. And I'm looking and I'm thinking, fucking hell. And then he gets on the phone and he starts making a phone call or two. And I know who he's talking to and that. And I'm like, no way is this going down. It's all in my mum's room and that. And Marv, like, he wasn't going to go and fight our battles for us. He wasn't going to go and do this, go and do that. He had a situation with our older lot. Because of our situation, he could use that to help us and to get back on what he wanted to do. So that was Marv's thinking behind it. I'm just thinking, this guy's an animal. He's come in. Is he even going to back up what he says? Is he even going to help us further after giving him the money? That's why I was hesitant. But after everyone else is doing that shit, I'm following suit. I'm not going to be the only one. Do you know what I'm saying? 1 or 2 people left. They wasn't part of it. Won't mention no names. So once that's happened, Marv done his bit, he's left in that, yeah, and I'm thinking, okay, what happens now? Kev's going to kill me. Kev's going to kill me. That's it. Kev's going to just make me pay the debt back. You know, like, that's what's going to happen. I'm going to have to pay this debt. And I'm thinking, oh, fuck, what have I got myself into here, yeah? I really couldn't see a way out of things. And then my pal, he's called me, he's like, look, we've got the lockup. And I'm like, the what? The lockup. We've got the lockup. We've got a few vehicles and that. What we need to do now, obviously, the big fella, that's what they used to call him, the big fella, he ain't giving us no sticks or nothing like that. We got to get that ourselves because, obviously, we're young kids. He's mostly thinking, I don't know their mindset, they're not getting me a 20 or 30, you know what I'm saying? But he's telling you, listen, boys, if you want to be in this life, if this is what you want to do, these are the things you have. No one's taking Marv off the roads, and he's explaining the situation, so we're like, all right, cool, that's what we're going to do then.
Think of it like this, I got involved to help the younger lot stand up against the older lot. Right? Because they was having liberties taken with them. So what I explained to them was this, that in this world you're going to have to deal with things in a certain way. And what you need are cars, bikes, vans and tools. Right? So I went out of my way to facilitate them acquiring the bits and pieces they needed. Now this is how fickle that world is. I'm helping them develop an infrastructure to look after themselves. Now, when I give them the infrastructure, the cars, the bikes and the vans, I'll give them a lock-up to put all their gear in, and it was looked after by someone who lived in the lock. Someone actually lived in the lock-up. It was an old centre, and I had people working there doing other bits and pieces. So I said to them, I'm going to leave some bits here. I want you to look after it. They were getting paid because, believe it or not, it was a slaughter that we used to get a lot of graft dropped to. So when you wanted a couple of ton of something, it got dropped to this bit. When you got 100 bits of something, it got dropped to this lock-up. It was like an old centre. So what I've said to them is this, you lot have the centre, yeah, you lot keep all the bits in there, and then you got to get your bits and pieces to protect yourselves. So now I've given them a lock-up, I've given them a guard, I've given them a bike, I think a couple of bikes. Well, I never given them nothing. The money that they gave me, well, I never kept a penny of it, right? And I promise you. But what I've done is I paid someone to look after the bikes, the cars and the vans and the other little bits and pieces that got put in this locker. Someone had to get paid weekly to stay in there. So they got paid to look after the bike, the car and everything else. Now, the fickle part of that world is that someone, I don't know who it was, people have some ideas, but someone actually went and told the police about the lockup to take away the youngsters' protection. But the only people that knew about that lockup was people that was in that front room, right? So the people that was in that front room, I sort of designated a couple of youngsters. Now, I'm not going to try and spread rumours, but they know who they are. I don't need to say it. And after this post, maybe it will come out who it was. But I'm not saying who it was, but everyone knows who it was, right? But I told these 2 youngsters, come down here. Right, here's your lockup. Here's the keys. Now, this fella's going to be here 24/7. After giving them the infrastructure to look after and protect themselves, they've got the bike, the cars and the lockup, right? The bike, the car and the van. So I think it was 2 bikes, a car and a van. And that was to take care of any problems in the foreseeable future. Now, the only 2 people that I took to this lockup, I only took 2 people to this lockup. They know who they are. Now, I believed for 15, 20 years it was them 2, because I went on later to have another issue with one of the people in the lockup who actually tried to get me ironed out, and it never worked because the people that they asked to iron me out actually told me. Yeah, so they know now why the meeting happened in the O2 Centre and you got told to meet me in the cemetery, right? Because the people you run to, yeah, actually rung me to tell me, why is matey coming over there? And I said, wow, are you sending him over? He said, yeah. I said, he's coming to see me. He said, are you joking? I said, nah. So he's been called back and everything's gone pear-shaped for them and everything's gone well for everybody else. But basically, the point I'm trying to make is even the people that you're working with that you believe you can trust, you cannot, because everybody wants in for themselves. They're not in to build. It's only in it for themselves. So I've took these 2 kids down to a lockup that I've given them so that they can protect themselves from the people that are taking liberties with them. And then someone rang the police and got the lockup nicked and got the people in the lockup nicked as well. And further to the rationale, you'd ask yourself, why would you do that? Why would you do that? Why would you do that if you're part of the same firm? So in every firm, yeah, there's traitorous. It's treacherous behaviour. Like scumbags, people that will walk you to your death, people that will tell people where you live so you can be killed, people that will set you up to be stabbed up, people that will rob your products, people that will rob your stash. Come on, man. And they tell you that they're sensible and they're bad men. So the message that I'm trying to put out there, it might not come across in the way that I want it to, but it's just, you can't trust anyone that's a villain. You can't trust anybody that's a criminal. They'll tell you you can, but if they're giving you something that can jeopardise your freedom, your life or your future, then they don't love you. How could you trust someone that doesn't love you? But yet they're giving you a product that will get you. It will get you put in prison or killed. How do they love you? Right? That's like giving your own son or your own daughter the same products. Just giving it to them and then telling everybody they're selling it. What do you think is going to happen? You're never going to do that because you know someone's going to want to rob them. It's like, for argument's sake, just imagine now, right, giving your son, yeah, or your brother £150,000. Who are you going to tell in your manor they've got £150,000 in their flat? They've got no alarm, they've got no security gate and they've got no protection, right? Who are you going to tell that you got 150 grand in your gaff? Who? Think about that for a minute. Do you understand? Because that's the reality of the world you're choosing to go into. That's the reality of the world that you're choosing to be in right now. You can't trust him sitting next to you. You can't trust him sitting next to you. Why? Because they want what you've got. They want it. Yeah? And if you're doing better than them, they'll do anything to get it. Now, the stories have been here from the beginning of time about people setting up their own people setting up their uncles, people setting up their dads, people setting up their brothers, people setting up their friends, people setting up everybody so they can get in front, right? And that's a fact. That's a fact.
And also, I'll say another thing as well, yeah? See, when you're in prison, you don't know what's going on outside, and you have no control and no effect to help anyone. So, my birds, yeah, like every time I've gone jail, my bird gets smashed by someone from the manor. You know,
hold on, right. It's not your bird getting smashed by someone from the manor, right? What you got to ask yourself is this: how long would you not sleep with somebody if she went to prison? Yeah. Answer that question. How? No. Right. Your bird goes to prison, right? For 3 years. How long are you going to wait for her, bruv?
Yeah, I'm not waiting.
No, right. But she's a cunt for not waiting for you. That's the bullshit you're meant to believe, yeah? Now, if you go to prison, you can't expect your missus to sit there with her legs tight. Everybody's got needs on this planet. Women to reproduce and perpetuate our species, yeah? How the fuck can you expect your missus to sit indoors for 3, 4, 5, 10 or 15 years and call her a slag for having sex? Yeah, when you ain't going to do it, you don't even fucking do it on the air. You don't even do it on the air.
Don't even do it on the air.
Don't even do it on the air, mate. Yeah. And you're out there fucking every little Tom, Dick and Harry thinking you're the man. But yeah, when you go to prison, your missus can't enjoy her life. You're a fucking mug. Yeah? You're a mug. And that's why every time I've gone to prison, I tell my girls, get on with your life. They choose to wait. And I'll tell them, yeah, if you're going to wait, don't dig me out when I come out because my life's going to be different. Do you understand? Now, life is what it is. Yeah? Life is what it is. But if you're choosing that life, then that's not a life to have because it amounts to nothing. And you know why? Because you amount to nothing. For what? For what? You rob, steal, chase, beat, stab, shoot, kill. For what? So you don't call me a mug. So you don't call me a pussy. So you think I'm someone special and you think I'm important. I was a fucking myth in the world, in my little world. I was a myth to some people, right? I felt like God when I was a myth. For what? For what? Yeah? Don't follow the life of Marv. I'm telling you that now, because the life of Marv ain't no good, right? The life of Marv ain't no good. I'm telling you, right? Now, if you're on that journey, you're heading towards where I ended up, right? You're going to have ups and downs. You're going to have your highs and you're going to have your lows. But I'm telling you now, for what? For what? So you can sit in prison and tell your bird, you fucking cunt, why are you going out tomorrow? Why are you going out the weekend? What are you spending money on? Why don't you send me some money? Send me some money. Send me some money. Now I can tell you now, with my hand on my heart, my missus never had to worry about sending money to me in prison. Because I used to send money to my missus out of prison, right? All my girlfriends that I had from when I was a kid, right? I never had any women bringing me drugs. Maybe my auntie and my mum. Imagine that. My auntie and my mum used to bring me my drugs in prison, yeah? Because they was on the road, they was into bits, they was doing shit. Do you understand? And I'd say, mum, bring me a bit of puff. Sweet, not a problem, son. But my girlfriends, I wouldn't have my missus nicked. I wouldn't have my missus nicked. My mum was in it. My auntie was in it. They was doing bits and pieces themselves. So they know how to hide things. They know how to do things. So I'd ask them, mum, can you bring me a bit of puff? Occasionally, when I was swagged out of jail without any recollection that I'm going anywhere or any notice I'm going anywhere. And when you get swagged out of gaff or you get ghosted, you end up in a place up north, you're fucked with nothing. So you need your mum, right? But my birds never missed a libby. How many men do you know that bring their missus and their friends bring them drugs, right? Now I'm going to give you this bit of statistic. Every man out there with more than 5 friends that goes to prison, right? And this is predominantly the youngsters as well, right? You go to prison, you got 5 friends, right? After maybe 6 months, 8 months, when you've been on remand, it's okay. Yeah, they come up on remand. When it's every 2 weeks, because back in my day it was every 2 weeks you get a visit, now it's every week or something like that. After 6 months, maybe after 6 months or a year, it's only your missus sending you money, but you got bad man on the road. You got bad man on the road earning dough, bruv. You in jail talking about my brethren's on the app. We're doing this, we're doing that. They can't club in £1 a day each to send you £25 a week. Yeah? So I'll tell you again, for what? For you not to even get £25 a week from your bad men on road. Your fucking firm, not my firm, not my firm. Not my firm. So what I would like anybody to tell me, and I can guarantee you there'll only be 1%, and be honest, nothing but the truth. Message me, comment, and tell me how much money your friends, not your mum, not your missus, not your girlfriend, yeah, none of that, yeah, your friends, how much did they used to send you every week? Every week, yeah, how much did they used to take to your missus? How much did they used to give your kids? Tell me, because I want to fucking hear it. Because I had some of the baddest men on the planet, yeah? And all I used to get, yeah, was products. And why did I get products? Because when I got out, yeah, they'd expect me to stab, shoot and kill for them. So they looked after me because they know, yeah, when I get out, I'm a benefit, yeah? But I'm only a small percentage of that world. And the small percentage is only going to be 1% going to reply. My people looked after me, my people looked after me. The fucking rest of you 98%, you're in there struggling, your mother. I've heard people on the phone. What do you mean, mum? What do you mean, girl? Send my money. I've got nothing. Yeah, you fucking this, you fucking that. I used to have to tell people on the phone, how you speaking to your girl like that, bruv? Listen, don't speak to your girl like that. Here's a bit of gear. Here's a bit of puff. Don't do that to your missus, mate. Don't do that to your mum. And I'm telling you, people out there know. I've spoken to you in prison. I'll give you parcels so you don't have to scream and shout to your mum and your missus down the phone. You fucking bastards. And you're in that world for what? For what? Come on, man. Wake up.
And there'll be, just to add to that, your mum and your family, and if you've got a good girl, your girl will be there when you change. All them other cunts, all them other wankers, none of them will be there. They'll all be talking about you. Oh, he's broke now anyway. Yeah. And they'll all change your story.
No, you're not a benefit anymore.
You're not a benefit.
You're not a benefit no more. Do you know what I'm saying? Yeah? No benefit. You're no benefit. So you can amount to the biggest gangs on the planet. For what? Okay, to be some bitch for someone else, to be a benefit. Because when you're a benefit to people, like myself, I was the biggest bitch on the planet. Got a problem, ring Marv. Got an issue, ring Marv. Got this, ring Marv. Yeah? Because I was that bitch. Yeah, you could stick it up my ass, fucking ring me, I'd do anything for you. I'd take myself away from my mum, my dad, my brothers, my sisters, and most importantly, my fucking kids for years. For what? That's what I can't fucking take. That's why I'm doing what I'm doing now. Because you youngsters need to wake up and listen. Yeah, you're risking your liberty for what? Yeah? Hear them words.